as follows. In the Superior Court of Glenn County, State of Georgia, the State of Georgia versus Travis McMichael, case number CR 000433. Jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. I'm going to ask that whoever just made an outburst be removed from the court, please. As this court has indicated, I ask that there be no outbursts in the court, and I expect as much from the gallery. Please respect the court's desire for this as we move forward. If you feel like you need to make a comment or otherwise demonstrate with respect to the verdict, I do ask that you step out of the courtroom now. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Dated this 24th day of November, 2021, signed by the foreperson.
Now, that just had to do with one of the defendants. There were two others. Greg McMichael, that is the father of Travis McMichael, and a neighbor named William Bryan. They are also found guilty. Malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault. Bryan was found not guilty on one count of felony murder and one count of aggravated assault, but the jury found him guilty on 3 counts of felony murder and 3 other charges. All 3 men now face a maximum of life in prison without the possibility of parole. By the way, they were also indicted on several hate crime federal charges, including attempted kidnapping and interference with rights. Now, this is also following what we talked about yesterday, and that is the white detective in Kansas City who was found guilty of manslaughter in connection with killing an unarmed black man. That was a bench trial, not a jury trial, but a white judge found a white detective guilty of manslaughter for shooting and killing an unarmed black man. It's been an awfully tough week for white privilege, hasn't it? I've told you before, it's a lie that the criminal justice system is systemically racist. What do the people have to say now after the comments they made about the racist criminal justice system following the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse on all 5 counts? What are they saying now? As I mentioned yesterday, not one word I saw on MSNBC Hee-Haw about the guilty verdict of the white detective accused of killing an unarmed black man in Kansas City. And now you have the convictions of all 3 of these men charged in connection with the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. Remember, the jury was composed the same way as was the jury composed in the Rittenhouse trial. My understanding is that 11 whites, 1, quote, person of color, both juries, 11 whites, 1 person of color. This thing on? It's always been a lie, at least in recent years, that the criminal justice system has been racist. Back in the 90s, early 90s, there was a Bureau of Justice study 55,512 state felony cases filed in America's 75 largest counties in May of 1992. Here's what the study found. Quote, in 12 of the 14 types of crime for which data was collected by the Justice Department, the conviction rate for blacks was lower than that of whites. That included murder, rape, robbery, assault, burglary, drug offenses, weapon charges, and other crimes against persons. Blacks were convicted at a higher rate in only two categories: felony traffic offenses and for a small number of miscellaneous crime felonies. Whites had higher conviction rates overall, including cases that were dropped by prosecutors or voided by judges. There was even a wider gap among cases that reached a jury. Now, only a small number of cases ever reach a jury. But of those, jurors acquitted 83% of blacks charged with rape, compared with 24% of whites during the same month studied. No whites were acquitted of murder by juries during that time, but juries acquitted 22% of blacks. For felony theft, 29% of blacks were freed by juries, compared with 22% of whites. Of those charged with drug trafficking, 10% of blacks were declared not guilty, compared with 7% of whites. Again, only a small percentage of cases ultimately get to juries. But this was broader than just juries. In the 12 types of cases for which crime data was collected by the DOJ, the conviction rate for blacks was lower than that of whites. This is in May of 1992.